Good morning, Ultimate Coach Facebook family. It's been a little bit since I hopped on a live here. Coming at you from Park City, Utah, and I thought I'd include my fake waterfall. Well, engineered, human-made waterfall, let's call it that. It's a real waterfall. It actually is water falling. How is everybody this morning? Hope wherever you are it's beautiful, not too hot. Luis and I are posted up in Park City, Utah right now, and it's been gorgeous. Gets down to 60 or so at night. Still a little hot during the day, like most places. So, couple things I wanted to chat about this morning with the Serenity, the waterfall. First, of course, is my favorite topic, being, and I wanted to share over the past couple weeks a lot going on for me, a lot of well, let me back up a little bit. The way I think about it, and this is not the truth, this is just the world according to Townsend. The way I think about it, we can practice conscious, created being, right? Declaring our being, asking who am I being, saying I choose to be, right? We can practice that. And that's a very powerful, hey Lindsay, good morning. That's a very powerful way of creating our lives. But it would be folly to ignore the fact that much of our lives, for much of our lives, we have created our lives from a being that's sort of been running in the background. Steve, good morning, brother. I call that or refer to that as my legacy being or my default being. Who am I being when I'm not paying attention, when I'm not consciously creating it? Who shows up, right? I'm 53 years old. Probably 27 years ago, maybe a little longer, I forget, I had the first exposure to these things called affirmations. And, this idea of putting something out there and moving towards it. It's only been probably 3 years since even the idea of being in a formal sense has been in my consciousness, and I've been working with Steve now for 2 years. So I spend a lot of energy and dedicate a lot of time to consciously creating my being. And yet, there is a very significant portion of this that is still constituted from and creates life, or attempts to create life, from what worked for a lot of years. I've said these things before, but I think they're worth sharing. Being isn't new, it's just something we're talking about. We've always been being. We're always creating. We're infinite creators. The only question is, to what degree are we aware of how our being is creating our thinking and our actions and then producing our life? So, conscious creation is a powerful tool, but only in as much as we can notice when the unconscious creation is taking place. And let me unpack that. I'll make it pretty tangible. Nope, one more thing. Now I'll say this. For most of my life, the being that created life, my being, had words in it like being right, being superior, being look good, being responsible. I was responsible, walking around looking for something to take responsibility for. I was superior, looking for a situation or a context to take actions that would prove my superiority. I was being right, a lot of the time. Another one that I wouldn't say I'm proud of, but it's not even about that, is a lot of my life I was being alone. Right? The being created itself, my legacy being created itself as alone, and then produced life from that. produced results, powerful results, built a company, made a lot of money, right? Did a lot of cool things in life. But from a beingness that, well, let's say was rather costly. And this is what I think is one of the most essential elements of being. There's no wrong way of being. There's no right way of being. There's no bad way of being. There's no good way of being. All being produces thoughts and then actions and then results. Everyone you're looking at in the world is creating their life from some way of being. And, ready? That way of being is working for them. Meaning, it's producing their life. It works for them. Even if it has side effects or downsides or things they don't like. Right? Being alone. What's up, Ryan? Good morning, brother. Being alone is an incredibly powerful way of being. You want to know why? You don't need to worry about anybody else's opinion. You don't need to wait for anybody's approval. There's nothing alone can't do. When the going gets tough, being alone gets going. Literally. It's how I created relationships. It's how I created businesses. I don't need anybody. Being alone. Of course, there's a cost to that. There's a downside to that, and that is the more of life you want to create, the more of whatever being you're using to create it, you need. Good morning, Stuart. So being alone needs more alone to make more money or have more stuff in the world. Being superior needs more superior, right? Being right needs more right. So the catch here is that all being works. All being works to produce life, and God forbid that being actually produces a life that we look at and go, oh, that seems like what I want with a lot of stuff. Well, we think that's the only way we can be to get there. That's the only kind of being that will produce it. And I've talked about this before, if you guys have watched some of these videos. What I wanted to really highlight today is what has been my experience over the last couple of weeks. And that is unearthing, discovering more legacy being, right? So like, it's no shock to me that for much of my life I created from a being alone, right, look good, responsible, right? And here I am creating myself powerfully with my declaration. Hey, good morning, Judy. Here I am creating myself powerfully with my declaration consciously, but I also got to be watching where's the unconscious legacy or default being trying to show up and do what it's done for a lot of years. Ouch. So I use this analogy and I call it infinite rooms. And the idea is my life occurs in a room, and in the room are all the unuseful thoughts that my legacy being produces. And those thoughts are represented by whatever mess is in that room. So you walk into a room and it's like, stuff isn't in the right spot or it's dirty. So you clean up the room, you make the room nice, right? I work with all of my unuseful thinking as a way to source what I would call the legacy being and dissolve that and replace it and shift it with my conscious created self. This is what I do all day long. So there I got this room. It's all nice and tidy and beautiful. It's just how I like it. It's my life created consciously as I like it. And when I've got my room all clean and everything's nice and perfect and I'm all proud of myself, well, I notice there's a door on the other end. And I'm like, I'm going to go check that out. And I open the door and there's another room. And this one's a mess. Everything's all in the wrong place and stuff's on the floor. And it looks like the mess is like the mess I just cleaned up. But I look back and that room's clean. But it looks like the same stuff. There's some more righteous. There's some more look good. There's some more alone. There's some more responsible. All right, well, I guess I'll clean this up too. It's not the same, right? I didn't encounter the same alone, the same righteous, the same look good. But it's the same kind of stuff, but it's a different room. So I clean all this up, and now the room's all beautiful and perfect. I got 2 rooms. Nicholas, hey man, we gotta get a red iguana date on the calendar, brother. So now my room's clean. I got 2 rooms. My life, my conscious created self, is now 2 rooms of what I like. Guess what though? There's a door on the other side. Let's go check that out. I opened the door. I didn't see it before. There's another room. And this one's a mess too, right? Yes, you are Big Spoon this time. You got it, buddy. Another room with the same stuff, but it's not the same stuff. I already cleaned that up. I can actually see through the other rooms. I'm like, yeah, I got those rooms. I have all of that. It looks the same, but it's not the same. So I clean it up. And there's another door, and so on and so on. And once in a while, I open a door to this next room, and it's like, oh my goodness. This must be an episode of Hoarders. We have infinite rooms, Judy. That's the whole point. We have infinite rooms. We'll never stop finding more that we could work with of our legacy default being. Sometimes the room is a mess. And you go, this one's going to take a while. That's kind of been my last 2 weeks. Like, I came back from working with Steve, maybe even longer. I think it was about a month ago. It was 2 visits ago. And something like, he just dropped something little in there and it kind of started rattling around. It was like the following Sunday, it was like opening a door and like, man, there's a warehouse here. There's a warehouse of all this stuff that I've been working on for years to clear out that I thought I had all cleared up, but no, now here's another warehouse. Now, what you can't do, you could, but I don't recommend it, is to get all wrapped around the axle. Like, oh man, when am I going to be done? And what about this? And I can't believe it's still here. No, this is more. This is more space, more being I can create consciously that I can have to keep and live an expansive life. So that's what I've been doing, right? I found a whole storage unit full of alone and superior and responsible. Man, yeah, the drawers too. Responsible is a big one for me, right? I'm trying to take responsibility for everybody else's experience of life. And I clean it up, and I create, and then I could take a little bit of a break, and then there'll be another room, and I'll never stop opening the doors and finding another room. So that's what I've been up to. Hey Ben, good morning. That's what I've been up to the last couple weeks. Just been doing what I do, which is waking up and tidying up the room and getting to the next room and the next room, and I found some big rooms. And on the other side of that, man, there's such an expansiveness of my, hey, good morning, Daniel, of my consciously created being, right? There's so much more of what I call the PFC manifesto. So much more of it that I can work with, right? I have more of the conscious created self that I want, and I'll never run out of my legacy being to work some of that. I tell a little anecdote, and I think I'll share that this morning. It won't take too long. Hope you guys are enjoying the waterfall here. And I tell this anecdote. Imagine there's a guy in town, and he's the fastest framer. Now, for those of you who don't know, framing is what they do when they're building houses. They're putting up the wood stuff, right? For the walls and everything. And he pounds the nails and lays up the framing, and people come from miles around to see him do what he does. Like, he's so fast and so skilled and accurate. People just like watch him for hours. So I'm like, I gotta check this guy out. So I go watch this guy, and there's a crowd, everybody's watching him, everybody's oohing and eyeing, and he's so fast. Like, you can't believe how fast he's moving and how precise he is. But I noticed something. Something catches my eye, so I'm like, I'm going to hang around, and everybody ends up dispersing. He's packing up his stuff, and I head over to him. I said, hey man, I just want to let you know I'm incredibly impressed at how skilled and how fast and how accurate you are with your framing. It's true what they say. You truly are the fastest framer around. And he goes, oh, thanks, man. I said, listen, can I offer something, though? Can I point out something that I've seen? And he goes, absolutely. I said, I would invite you to look down in your hand. It appears you're using a screwdriver to pound the nails. He laughs at me. He goes, I'm not using a screwdriver. I'm the fastest. I'm using a hammer. Why would I use a screwdriver? That's ridiculous. I use a hammer. And I said, yeah, I know, probably silly, but would you just humor me and take a look? Like, just look down in your hand. He goes, fine. And he looks down and he goes, well, I'll be darned. That is a screwdriver. I thought my hand was getting tired. Hey, thanks, buddy. Now, what's interesting is I don't need to tell him anything. I don't need to give him any advice. What he'll do, you can figure this part out, is he's going to put the screwdriver down and grab the hammer. Right? When we see we're using the wrong tool for the job, we do something about that. He doesn't need my advice. But here's the fun part. A couple days later, I decide to come back and check on him. I'm like, let me see how he's all doing with that hammer. I wonder if he's still using that hammer. Well, I come back. Guess what's in his hand? Guess what I see him doing? He's pounding with the screwdriver again. So I wait up, hang out after. I said, hey, man, good to see you. He goes, oh, thanks for that tip, buddy. Life's been great since then. I said, hey, you might not want to hear this, but I think you got the screwdriver in your hand again. He's like, nah, that's ridiculous. I would never do that. I learned my lesson. I said, well, just take a look. And he looks down and he goes, oh, man, there it is again. And he grabs the hammer. So the lesson here, or the thing that I always try to get across is, we're used to using certain tools for the job being creating our life, right? And wherever you are in life, you've created that life from the tools that got you here. So this idea, oh, I'm going to be different, that's wonderful. Hey, Dennis, good morning. But you're going to want to acknowledge the fact that the being is used to using a certain tool, even if it's less efficient, or it causes pain, or it makes us miserable. So the path, as I see it, to continuously looking to create yourself and your being consciously is very simple. One must, let's just say, get in the habit of looking in their hand. Once we look in the hand, we'll see what we're doing. So it's not so much about beating yourself up for, oh, there I go, doing that again, or being that way again. If you continuously ask the question, who am I being, right? You'll see when the legacy or default being that got you here is showing up to do what it's always done. Now, if every time you encounter the legacy being or the default being or the way of being that got you here, and you're all pissed off about it, and you like use this as another reason to blame yourself and beat yourself up because, man, I'm just not learning, well, you're going to miss the point. More importantly, you're going to stop looking in your hand. If every time you look in your hand you see the wrong tool and you feel mad or embarrassed, well, all that does is cause you to stop looking in your hand. What you want to begin to do is, first of all, develop a habit of looking in your hand. Who am I being? What tool am I using? And when you find that legacy being, that default being showing up, have a laugh at it. Give it some love. Give that legacy being that got you here some love, so you're willing to look for it, at it, again. Well, that's all I got for today. Thank you, Rebecca. Hey, Lorraine. Thank you all for hanging out with me for a little bit. Hope you enjoyed my fabricated waterfall. And much love to each of you. Have an amazing day.